Welcome to a Taxware video tutorial. Today we'll be talking about the depreciation program and how to integrate it with the individual program. We'll start off by going into our client. Next we'll go into their Schedule C. From the Schedule C, we'll need to access the depreciation program. This is the first point where people often make mistakes when using the asset manager. Instead of opening it from the individual program, they'll open it by itself, which means it's not going to integrate properly. So to make sure it's going to integrate properly, we're going to click this Access Depreciation button up here at the top. Once we've accessed the asset manager, we'll need to select our client. You can see here it says no client selected, so that means we need to select one. We'll go ahead and select our client here. The next step is making sure this client is set up for integration. To do so, we'll go into Basic Information and make sure that line 11 here is checked, Interface with the individual tax system. Looks like that's all set up, so we'll click OK. The last thing we need to check is to make sure that the assets that we want transferred over to the individual program actually have the correct tax carry code. What this means is we'll go into the Changes to Assets. We'll double click on the asset description. And here we can see on line number 11, there is no tax carry code. That means that right now, nothing would be transferred over into the individual program. So we need to make sure that this is set up correctly. We'll click on this code button, which will bring up this list. This list shows us every schedule where the depreciation program can interface with. It asks us which form or schedule and which numbered form or schedule that this asset pertains to. In this particular case, we're looking at a taxpayer's Schedule C, and this taxpayer happens to only have one Schedule C, so we'll put in this box number 1. Just to be clear here, this is the Schedule C. It's the first Schedule C. It's the taxpayer's first Schedule C. So that's where this will be carrying to. If we have multiple assets going to multiple different schedules, make sure they're going to the correct place. We'll click OK. We can see here that $400 is what's going to be carried over as a depreciation. So we'll click OK and close. Finally, we'll click OK to close out of the Assets Manager, and a new box is going to show up. This one says, do we want to print Consolidated Form 4562s? What this means is it'll group all the 4562s together when we print from the individual program. In this case, there's only going to be one since we only have one asset, but it can save a lot of paper if, for instance, your client had 10, 12, 14 assets. We'll go ahead and click OK. Coming back to the Schedule C, which it'll bring up automatically, we can scroll down and see that in the depreciation box, there's now $400 in depreciation. If we want to add a new asset, maybe we forgot one, we can do the same thing. Click on Access Depreciation. Make sure our client is selected. This time it remembered our client because it's not the first time that we've accessed this client's depreciation schedules. We can click Add Asset, put in the description, the cost, the date placed in service. We still want this one to carry to the taxpayer's Schedule C, the first one. We'll do 5-year makers. And we'll say that this one had a 179 on it. So we're going to take everything this first time. If we click OK, and then OK again, coming back to the Schedule C, we can now see that $1,400 is our depreciation. So overall, integrating the programs are very easy. So there are 3 simple steps to make sure you're properly integrated with the depreciation program. One is make sure you open the program from the individual program itself by clicking the Access Depreciation button from the schedule you wish to use. Step 2 is in the Basic Information for your client, is to make sure the Interface with the Individual Tax System button is checked. And lastly, on the assets themselves, is to make sure that they have the correct tax carry code or tax code. Just to give one more example, let's go ahead and give this client a Schedule E, and we can see the difference between the tax carry code. So we'll go into the supplemental income, we'll add a new property, we'll click on Access Depreciation up here on the top left. That brings up our asset manager. It still knows that we're on the same client. We'll add a new asset, click OK. We want this one to go to the first Schedule E, so we'll put number 1 in there. Click OK. We'll give this one 25-year makers. And finally, we'll click OK. And OK to get out of here. We'll still carry it. If we scroll down, now we can see that the depreciation is carried over. So that covers this overview on integrating the depreciation program with the individual program. If you have further questions, feel free to email us at support@taxwaresystems.com or give our technical support line a call at 1-800-877-1065. We'll see you in the next video, and thank you for choosing Taxware.